I'd like to call to order the Peabody Planning Board meeting agenda for Thursday, November 17th, 2022, 7 o'clock, held at Peabody City Hall, Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. First item on the agenda is a public hearing for definitive subdivision Westwood Ave. This is to be continued to January 15th, 2023. We'll close that part of the public hearing. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of November 3rd. I'll take a motion for that.
The meeting minutes are still being worked on.
It's still being worked on? Okay. Second item on the agenda is site and building permit preview, 190R Newbury Street, map 35, lot 38A.
Mr. Chairman, earlier this evening, we received letters of continuance from the applicant for this, requesting to continue this item until December 1st.
And I would amend that request to be December 8th.
Mr. Chairman, move to receive a letter from Attorney Kelty dated November 17th, 2022, requesting that the 190R Newbury Street matter be put over until now December 8th, 2022.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Dr. Otto, you in favor? Next item on the agenda is 55 Pulaski Street, map 55, lot 029.
Mr. Chairman, we also received a letter from the applicant on behalf of Attorney Kelty, also requesting to continue that.
That too, the letter says December 1st, and I would amend to be December 8th.
Mr. Chairman, move to receive a letter dated November 17th, 2022, from Attorney John Kelty regarding 55 Pulaski Street, requesting that that matter be put over until the letter states December 1st, now amended to December 8th, 2022.
We have a second?
Second.
Doctor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Next item on the agenda is a final plan and Form G endorsement for subdivision Stonegate. At this time, I request the board members, one at a time, to come up and sign both the Form G and the final plan.
Only need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 signatures.
Yes, sir.
On that, as well is the Form G covenant in the tripartite agreement. You have to sign the tripartite, right?
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Jack?
So
Next order of business before the board is correspondence, regional notices. Any questions on regional notices? Department of Public Services memo 2022 on 1090 Newbury Street. Peer review of traffic, World Tech 102022. Response to peer review traffic, TEC 1026 of 22, 55 Pulaski. Peer review of traffic response, TEC 1026, letter World Tech 11-1, 2022, 55 Pulaski Street. Initial stormwater peer review, Horsley Witten Group 1028, 55 Pulaski Street. In a butter letter, George Garachi, 1110, 2022, Westwood Ave, definitive subdivision. Hearing none, any other matters properly before the board?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I wanted to discuss with the board, I mentioned this at the last meeting, that it's time that we revise our fee schedule. In doing some research, I think we have two options on what we could look at, and I kind of want the board to discuss. I plan to come in with two examples of such that maybe we could look at, and I'll send them out to the board in due time as well so that we can discuss this at our December 1st meeting. The two options with what a fee schedule could look like is you look at a base rate for all site plans. So for example, $400 and then for every site plan, but then if you are building anything over 10,000 square feet, every X amount of square foot above 10,000 is the next X amount of money. So if it's every 5,000 square feet over, that's another $200 or a certain amount such, we decide to choose. There's a few different communities that have a few different options on where we can. The other option, there would also be a max on that, so no fee would ever be, over $10,000. That's the max at. Other options are you do just a flat rate against how much square foot. So every 1,000 square feet is 30 cents or something of that nature. So there's two options that we could look at. I want to send everybody the two examples that I have so that you can review them. You can have questions on them, you have comments on them, and then hope to discuss and vote on the fee schedule for the next meeting. This is for site plan review, by the way.
Quick question. When you give us that, can you give us what the current fees are, and then next what the proposed fees are that you would like? Because I'm not sure what the, well, I know, but when you actually, you're going to submit, you're going to come up with different ideas. Is it going to be like, if it's on a sheet of paper, it'd be helpful if I can see, well, it's $100 for this, it's $50, it's $300 for that now, and what it's going to go to, that type of stuff.
The only thing I would looking at right now would be the site plan review.
Oh, all right.
Is
Just one thing.
$100.
Oh, all right. So, yeah, okay. I thought you were doing all the fees.
Well, I'd like to do all the fees. I think site plan review would probably be one of the most.
Okay.
A&Rs at the moment are $200, and then subdivisions are $750 base fee with $750 per lot proposed.
But what you're looking at now is just going from 100 to 300 for the...
Well, there's a couple different options. I mean, I think that you got to figure out what we're looking at. So do we want to do something where no matter what you're building, it's $500 right off the top? Or do you look at something that is $300 and then for every, you'd have to set a threshold of however much square feet you would want. And then on top of that, where you go from there. I don't have it off the top of my head, but we are definitely one of the lowest fees in the surrounding area for site plan reviews by a lot. So I think it's time that we really look at this and make a change. Also have on it, I have a sheet that I have drafted, I'll send it. It also has some examples on it. So for instance, like some real world examples that we've dealt with. So for instance, what a 120,000 square foot development would cost compared to someone wanting to do like a 7,000 square foot project as well.
Drew, if it's not too much work, would it be possible to also provide us with information as to what other planning boards are charging for these same things?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is it difficult for us, instead of taking small bites at this and do site plan and then go do subdivision and do something else. Is it better to just wait, say, an extra month and look at it as a whole and do it all once?
I think our subdivision's pretty fair at the moment. I mean, that's definitely the most expensive out of all of them, and for sometimes they're the smaller developments than what a site plan would be. I mean, it's $750 base fee with a $750 per lot fee on top of that. Our A&Rs are $200 a fee, and I guess you have to think like, I mean, it seems pretty reasonable, $200, especially for the size of what your project. I'd have to look at what other communities are charging, but I think that's where our $100 for sometimes $30 million projects, you know, I think that's where we are falling short.
Okay, well, maybe like Joe was saying, and I guess I'm okay with that because what you just said makes sense. So maybe on that sheet of paper that you provide us, list all the fees that we know in Peabody right now. And then that way we can look at it as a whole too. And then we'll figure out, do we need to do any others later? But I agree with you. The one that's way too low makes sense. And where does this money go?
The money goes into the planning board fund, which then pays for certain things like we had to send out abutter notices for for public notices and hearings that we've had, mailings, different things like that, and then different other items.
Does it get swept into the general fund on a yearly basis?
That's a good question. I'll have to get to the bottom of that.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, another question. Are you looking for a recommendation from the planning board, or do we approve that? How's that? Who's the authority on that?
We believe we've gotten to the bottom of it, but we believe the planning board needs to make that decision themselves and vote on it, and that's it.
And if that's the case, yeah, I mean, just to kind of piggyback a little bit on what Roy was saying, I'd really like to see all the fees that we're responsible in either raising or leaving alone, and just kind of see where we are and where other local cities and towns are at. I know I'm making a little extra work for you, but you don't have to do this like now. I mean, you know, it's like, but I think I'd like to see all the fees and go from there.
Through the chair. Drew, can I just ask, again, not to add columns on the table or the chart that you're going to provide, but when comparing to other cities and towns, could you also just put something on there for, I guess, showing building permit fees as compared to other towns? So I'd like to just make sure that, you know, other towns that might have higher planning board fees may very well accompany lower building department fees. So I'd like to just kind of get a full cross-section of what a development project might cost a developer in our city, all-encompassing, rather than just planning board's fees in a vacuum. Please.
Any other questions from the board? Any other matters before the board? None. This time I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Chairman, move to adjourn.
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you all again.